Okay, this is my roommate, Lauren.
Wait, this is
Hello, welcome back to M's Eats. In today's video, I am giving you my sourdough bread recipe. Roommate Lauren, and she is gonna come along this sourdough bread journey with us today. I'm gonna be teaching her how to make sourdough bread while I also teach y'all. I just wanted to talk to her, kind of interview her about like why she kind of wanted to learn about sourdough bread, and maybe Lauren, what was like your hesitation to making sourdough bread?
Yeah, well I think one of the biggest things is just like being a full-time college student and then also having a part-time job. It just doesn't seem very time efficient to make my own bread rather than just like buy it at the store. So I think one of the biggest things for me has been time.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of people that are watching mine are also college students or busy people. And I've created this recipe that's quick and easy, but it's gonna make great sourdough bread. So I think I found that perfect balance in this recipe. And I think a lot of people are also in Lauren's boat. They wanna make bread, but they don't feel like they have enough time to do it. So stay tuned. Before we get into this video, I just wanna let you know I have a PDF version of the recipe linked in the description below. I would highly recommend printing that out and reading that before watching the rest of the video, or just like reading it while you're watching the rest of the video. You get kind of a full picture of what's going on before you see all the little descriptions of everything. So just highly recommend, check it out, it's down below. So this morning we fed our sourdough starter at around 8 a.m. I will be feeding my sourdough starter. It's about 8 a.m. and I know when I get started on bread around 11:30, 12, so that's the perfect time. It'll be active by the time I'm ready to start. I don't want to be loud, so that's why I'm in here. But let's go feed starter and Jimbo. And then turn on the scales. You're gonna take it out after that's good enough. As long as whenever you touch it, it's like, oh, see, that's a little bit. So it has risen a ton since we fed it this morning. It's all the way up to here. I have a ton of starter. I do not need this much starter, but I have a lot. Right now it's active, and that's the perfect time to start making your bread. You want to make sure if you're gonna make sourdough bread that you're using active starter. So it's been about 4 hours since I fed my starter, 3 to 4 hours, and that's prime time to start making bread. Just another like busy person college student tip with sourdough starter is I usually store my sourdough starter in the fridge, because if you store it in the fridge, you don't have to feed it every day. You can feed it every 3 to 4 days, and sometimes even longer. If you are gonna make bread, you wanna make sure you get your sourdough starter out of the fridge the night before, feed it that night, so all night it's back in room temperature and it's growing and it's getting active, and then in the morning you're feeding it again before you make your bread. So you wanna make sure your sourdough starter is alive and well and healthy and moving before you're making bread. Okay, so right now the materials that we need to start off our bread is a scale. I have just this big bowl. I have a measuring cup, and then I just have like another measuring cup just to scoop flour out. And then we have our flour, and then you're also gonna need water. Lauren's gonna do this, and I'm just gonna talk her through it. We're gonna add 700 grams of flour to the bowl, which I think is about like 4 cups. Now we're gonna add our water, and we need 515 grams of water. So we want the water that we're using to be warm. We're getting ours from the fridge, so it's pretty cold. So we're gonna put it in the microwave for about 30 seconds just to warm it up. It needs to be about, I think it's about 90 degrees, but honestly, if you stick your finger in there and you can feel that it's warm, not hot, but just like warm, then it's good. So now for the fun part, Lauren will be mixing this with her hands. So she needs to take off her ring. You want to mix this dough with your hands. It's the best way to do it, honestly, when you're making any kind of dough, bread. Just get in there with your hands so you can feel that everything's being completely incorporated. It's kind of fun. It feels weird. Oh. You want to get your fingers a little wet, and I forgot to tell Lauren that, so that's my fault. Once you get that incorporated, the flour and the water, you're gonna let that sit for an hour. And then we're gonna add our starter, and then we're gonna add salt. So we're adding our starter a little bit after, because we're gonna let this auto lease. It's just gonna sit and get ready for the starter for about an hour.
Once you have a successful starter, this isn't like hard to do.
No. 75 grams of this. Pick this up, and it goes like this.
That's literally, you just do that over and over again?
Yeah, and it'll kind of start to get, oh, it hurts my stomach.
This?
Ow. Yes, exactly, that's perfect. So you're gonna do this for like,
You do it on all the different sides?
2 minutes. Yeah, I just like rotate it every now and then. Kind of is an arm workout, like I said. And you got this little ball of goodness. We're gonna cover this and let it sit for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna add our salt. We have to let this sit because sourdough starter does not like salt. So we're gonna give this starter an opportunity to start feeding on this and working with this before we add the salt. Okay, I'm gonna first explain what we're doing and then I'll show you us actually doing it. So in this small container, I have hot water, like warm from the sink hot water. And I'm gonna add the salt that I need for this bread. So you need 2.5 teaspoons of salt. I'm adding it to the water so it becomes a salt water mix. It's not just salt that we're putting into the bread because that will be hard to mix and incorporate. Yeah, see, but just keep going, just work through it. So Lauren is doing her fold and throw method and is doing a great job for her first time doing this. I'm really proud. So she is gonna do this for 3 to 5 minutes until it starts looking smooth, and I'll show you what it's supposed to look like when I say it starts looking smooth. But while you're doing this, the first minute it's gonna look great, and then after a minute it's gonna start separating and you're gonna be like, what am I doing wrong? Keep going, chug through. It's gonna come back together and start getting smooth. Here are the noises, we know we love them. See how smooth it is? It looks smooth. It's gonna stay together. So now she's just gonna pick that up and put it in back into the bowl that we had it in. And then we're just gonna cover this and let it sit for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna come back to it. So it's been 20 minutes since we added the salt, so we're gonna do this folding method that we're gonna do for the next 15 minutes. We're gonna do it 4 times in increments of 15 minutes. Our 20 minutes after the salt is added, and we did the like big folding where we rolled it on top of itself, we're gonna do this fold, and then we're gonna wait 15 minutes, and we're gonna do this fold again, wait 15 minutes, this fold again, wait 15 minutes, this fold again, and then do something else with it. So this is the first fold we're doing like this.
Okay, so I'm gonna go under here.
Yes.
Grab it and kind of
lift it up.
Is this right?
Yep. And then push it back on the, fold it on top of itself. The goal is not to break it. You don't want to break the bread when you're stretching it, but you definitely want to give it a little bit of a stretch and a wiggle. But yes, you're gonna do it on all 4 corners, but they're not really corners. It's just all 4 sides of the bowl. So you're basically, what you're doing is flipping the bread inside out. So we're gonna let this sit for 15 minutes and then we'll come back and do the same thing. So I'm just gonna start off by flouring my work surface. I'm gonna have my flour on standby, and I've got my bench scraper ready to go. So I'm gonna dump out our dough onto the floured work surface. Okay, so my tip right here is to get your hands wet. It'll keep the dough from sticking to your hands so much. What I'm gonna do here is just take my dough and split it in half with the bench scraper. Okay, and then I have 2 little dough balls here, and I'm just gonna kind of twirl them and get them. So I'm gonna flour the top of the bread. So just throw some flour on top and then kind of rub it in just to make sure the top is nice and not sticky. And now I'm gonna take my bread, so I'm gonna scoop all 4 sides just to kind of loosen it from the counter, and then flip all the way under, put it onto my hand, and then slide it off my hand. Because it was floured on one side, it won't stick to your hand. You're gonna take the bottom of the bread, pull it, put it to the middle, and kind of pin it down. Then take the side, pull it, pin it to the middle. The other side, pull it, pin it to the middle. And then this is the tricky part. You take the top, take your bench scraper, take the top, pull it all the way down, and then take your bench scraper and seal it. And then you should get this little like circle thing. And then you're gonna put it into your bread pan, which was floured. And you just set it all in there. That is gonna sit until we're ready to cook it. So right now it looks like this little ball, but I promise you it'll fill this pan up and be full. Now we're gonna let that sit for 18 to 24 hours, and then we'll be ready to bake it. Okay, we're back. It's been roughly 20 hours and we're ready to put these in the oven and get them cooking. Scoring the bread is completely optional. It just looks pretty and it helps it open up a little bit more, but you definitely don't have to do it. It can totally be skipped. But I'm gonna go ahead and score all of these. Okay, good job. Thank y'all so much for watching this video. If you want a link to my sourdough bread recipe, all explained out, times and everything, there will be a link in the description. It looks like this if you print it off. It looks really cute and I worked on it, so check that out down there. Also, make sure you like this video, comment down below, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. See y'all soon.